I have spoken of my experiences as a small school leader and call it a survival kit for others who come onto the stream, because leadership in small schools is very complex. It's a very complex thing. And it is not clearly appreciated, and it is not very understood.
Hello and welcome to Obehi Podcast. I'm your host, Obehi A14, and I strongly believe that everyone has a story to share. Now let's get started into this episode.
By the technocrats, there are certain things that they have taken for granted, and it's and the generic measures to improve and to empower leaders and persons in these communities is taken very lightly, in my opinion. And so I've created a book that I want to think would coach persons that become leaders in small schools, and would allow them to understand the complexity and the different contexts in which they work, because each of these contexts are very different, similar, but different, to move their schools in a particular direction without becoming frustrated or defeated or feeling defeated. And so those are the areas in which I really coach. And apart from moving the community into careers, children who graduate from schools, putting them into areas of career areas outside of the community, schools in outside of their communities, putting them in there, align them to their natural bent and so on. So those are the areas in which I found myself, and I find that when I got into my context, immediate context, it became more forceful to me. And so it pushed me naturally in that direction. I find that the integration becomes very natural, because in my context, there are persons, parents, other educators and so on, who we share our issues. So whatever issues come up in the school, we share our issues, and we actually move our issues together. We share best practices. And so in my opinion, it is very integrated. Parents will come to work with the issues that they find they're having, and the difficulties or challenges that they're having, or the hurdles that they have to overcome to fit into the needs and the demands of rural schooling. And so there are ways in which you also help them on the move and on the go, because persons come with different issues and challenges. And as you move to assist them, to fit them in, to accommodate them, you find that you spend most of your time coaching these persons and helping to empower them. And so it cannot be separated. It has to be included. So I think it's an integration. Now, there are other persons now outside of the school context, in the home, in the church context, in your immediate community context, who knows of your capabilities and skills and uses also what you have accomplished to assist. And so I find that it is in the context outside of my school, I do it as a separate thing. As a principal, I am not required to teach. I am fortunate, some of us are, in multi-grade schools, but my school is not a multi-grade school. So what I find is that when we look at our guidance counseling program, our guidance counseling program is a yearly program that we put together to create interventive, preventive, so on measures to have our students engage in self-care, and our teachers engage in self-care, and our parents, all our stakeholders engage in self-care. And we look at the ways in which we create programs to meet the needs of the entire environment that I have presented to you. And those needs, after we do a needs assessment, we categorize them into the areas. And one of the areas is coaching. And so it is not a part of the government's curriculum per se, except that they have now, since COVID, introduced what we call a psychosocial plan. But in the context in which I work and others similar to me, we have always had to have a psychosocial plan, because we have always had to help and coach parents and all our stakeholders to maneuver their circumstances and their environments to the best of their ability using what they have. So that program in itself would have come from the guidance counseling department, and we would have put it together to help them to meet the needs at the different levels in that way. Additionally, I have a program that is called Colloquium that I do yearly, and it is usually in August. This program is intended to help principals, all principals that are so inclined, and we have gotten very good reception. And so we, at this point, use that colloquium to coach and meet the needs that exist in our schools from a leadership point of view. And so we look at the needs, and then we create, and we also have support staff and experts in the field dealing with the issues that present themselves for that year. And so it's a 3-day program, and persons sit in that program and are coached and mentored and scaffolded to develop skills that are lacking in as leaders, or to get information and training to solve problems that come up in the school. So for example, we might have an issue with middle managers. We want to equip our middle managers to improve their offerings and to maintain their duties and their influence, to master their skills and talents and improve their capabilities at that level. If it is data gathering, we find someone that is an expert that improves us, guides us, and gives us guidelines to improve our data gathering skills. If it is that we need to be able to improve our environment, the aesthetics and so on in our environment, then we find someone that can do that. And we use persons within the group that are experts themselves and that have a proven track record of mastering that area of the need that is presented. So we use inside sources and outside sources. And that is done, it's a program that is done every August. And that is a private program. The colloquium is a private initiative that I created in the last 6 years. I was saying most recently, because of the COVID, and we had to do our classes online. So we had to do our virtual engagement. We have found that we have concentrated our training on how to be able to function virtually on the online arena, and also how to blend modalities so that persons who are not online could benefit. And we have had to offer a number of training in that area. And so that is also something that we have focused on in our colloquium in this last year.
If you enjoy this podcast, make sure you subscribe so you never miss any of our future episodes. Rate and review Obehi Podcast and share with your friends who might need it. I remain Obehi Ewanfo. Thank you so much for listening, and talk to you in the next episode.